The Let's Be Budz show is for adults 21 plus only. Content is for education and entertainment. We don't sell or promote cannabis. Please follow your local laws and consume responsibly. Opinions are our own. Keep all products away from children and pets.
Oh yeah. And please, no dickheads. We ask that you respect our no dickheads policy. If you are a dickhead or thinking of being a dickhead today, please be a dickhead somewhere else.
Are you ready?
Hey.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show.
What up?
Welcome all you early birds. Good to see everybody in there. The show sponsored by our good friends at Lost Coast Plant Therapy. Say hi and chat, and guess what? You are in the draw for a 32-ounce bottle of Lost Coast Plant Therapy and some really cool merch. So tonight we've got a great show, as a matter of fact. Dennis from APSU Soil is going to be joining us. And Dennis also happens to be our seed sponsor for the week, so thank you very much for that. And White Sage is our herbal remedy of the week. Good to see everybody. Josh, Miranda, Dave. It must be Wednesday.
Must be. Good luck, everybody.
Yeah, good luck.
Da-da-da-da. Drum roll, please.
Oh, that's our guest.
Oh, look at that.
Who is it?
That's awesome.
What a scam.
Right. Now they're definitely going to say it's rigged, man.
He's rigged.
Okay.
Rigged.
Now, for your benefit, Dennis, and anybody else who's qualified for. So what happens is the first Wednesday of the month, we'll do a race for a bottle of Lost Coast Plant Therapy. So that's how that works. And good luck, everybody. So tonight, we're excited to welcome Dennis from APSU Soil to the show as we dig into some genuinely thought-provoking ideas about sustainability, soil, and what it means to grow food in a changing world. Dennis is taking the idea of organic living soil to a whole new level. We'll explore why healthy soil matters, how sustainability can become more practical and accessible, and what the future may look like for people who want to grow the ability to grow their own food over the next 20 years. So without any further ado, please let's welcome Dennis to the show.
Dennis knows the rhythm of the earth, it speaks in waves. Veterans and garden hands reaching out across the graves. Soil is the canvas where history intertwines. Each grid and clump tells tales of futures redesigned. Innovators bloom in colors unseen, matchless and bright. Together we weave dreams in the soil we harness life. Healthy soil, healthy food, a community reborn. From gardens to hearts, watch the promise transform. Dennis leads the way, a vision crystal clear, rebuilding soil, building hope for all who hold it dear.
Was that ever cool?
Welcome, welcome.
Hello, Dennis. How are you tonight, my friend?
I'm incredible. Thank you for the incredible song.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, for the benefit of some of us who don't know you, why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who APSU Soil is and what inspired you to start that company.
Well, obviously, my name is Dennis. I am a Marine, and I've been growing cannabis my entire life. I've never actually had a regular job outside the Marine Corps. So everything that I have has come from cannabis. And so I've done every single step, like every job in the industry. I started as a courier, became a farmhand, went to greenhouse manager, operations manager, and then, from there, moved to the consulting field, started consulting, started making a lot of soil, and here we are. So it's been a whole path from basically from the ground up throughout cannabis. And so very first job, I was working for California Patients Association in Orange County. And I was a courier, so I would just take weed back and forth and collect money. And I started to see that, like, you can actually make a little bit of money for yourself doing that. And so started farming. So cut out the whole thing, and instead of being the courier, I was the farmer dropping it off. And so did that for some time. Got an exit out of California and ended up in DC. Started growing in DC. So in DC, I realized that there was a need for a medium or a solution to grow cannabis, because getting things in DC was very expensive at the time, and there wasn't anything like this is about 10, 15 years ago, right? And so there wasn't any soil solutions, and there wasn't any growing solutions where it was turnkey, where you can just give it to somebody in an apartment or in a regular setting, and they could just grow cannabis. And so that's where I fit in. And so basically that's my intro.
Now, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you, Dennis. Can you turn up your volume on your little bit? Am I the only one that can't hear?
He was a little quiet. Yeah. I could hear him, but
yeah, I could hear you barely, but
I don't know how to control that.
There, I turned him up a little bit. Say something.
that might be better.
Yeah, my mic volume is all the way up.
okay. Yeah, now that is coming. It's coming through a little bit louder, right?
Yeah.
I turned him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So now something that I thought was interesting about your recipe, Dennis, is that you customize it for cannabis, and you customize it for other fruits and flowers and so on. And I was wondering if you might just be able to go into a little bit about how you came up with these formulations without telling us any of your trade secrets.
So it goes back to farming in California, and we would use living soil custom made, and it would get delivered sometime in the middle of the night, and we would just take it out the driveway and take it and put it up on the hill and use it. And so the very best way to farm is if you have everything already in the soil. So when you start buying bottles and shipping and stuff, now all of a sudden you're dependent on those bottles, and if they raise the price, then that takes a little bit out of your pocket, and inevitably they will raise the price, and your product's you're not going to be able to sell your product for any more. So it starts pinching you slowly but surely, and then you're completely dependent on that system. And so the best way to go is to already have everything pre-amended in the soil. And so that's what I started off doing is I was just a weed grower trying to modify my soil so everything was already in there for the entire cycle. And so, with tinkering with it, I realized that what I'm doing is I'm creating a natural soil. So when I started reverse engineering it to figure out what made it so special, it lined up with native soils and native electrical connectivity and cation exchange capacities and so that was the key, and that was the light bulb that went off in my head is, well, if it works for cannabis, the most heaviest feeding crop there is, then it's going to work for all food. And so I went immediately to make a vegetable blend that was tuned down a little bit and more cost effective for that crop, because sometimes you don't want to use the most powerful soil for what you're growing. You just want to use the right soil. And so I figured out, okay, well, living in Virginia, we have a lot of farms and they're really successful. And so, hey, Josh. So we have a lot of farms here. So what I did was I started taking samples from different farms in the area, strawberry farms, lettuce farms, so indoor greenhouses, stuff that we're using in ground, but they had, they were in the ground. And so through all of those samples, started seeing a lot of the same things. And then so through different methods, you can kind of reverse engineer these soils, just like I reverse engineered the mix that I made. And so I started figuring out that when you team up the soil, the plant with the correct soil, the native soil, that all of a sudden you don't run out of fertilizer. And that was mind blowing to me, because, well, now what is fertilizer? What does that even mean? Right? It's kind of interesting, because outside I have a pile of sand, just regular builder sand, and there's things growing in it just fine. So what is nutrition exactly? And what are the things a plant actually needs to survive? And so that question kind of opens up a whole can of worms that, well, maybe the entire industry is confused, right? So why are they selling us fit all soil when it doesn't fit, right? You would never buy a shirt for yourself that was a one size fits all. So why would you do that for plants? And so you go to the store and they have a cactus mix, they have a potting mix, and then they might have an aeroid mix, right? And those are your three options. And then so you can take those three things and you can combine them in a certain way at home and get something kind of close, right? But not really, because you still need the actual composition to match up with the microbes that are needed there. Otherwise, it's not going to get the nutrition it needs in the proper ratios. And so it really opens up the question as to what is nutrition, what is the appropriate soil, and do we actually need to go out and buy it every time? And the answer is no, you don't have to buy it, but you can't necessarily go scoop it out of an environment for your plant at home either. And so what do? Well, you make soil for it. And so that's what we started doing from working at nurseries and other places. We figured out that there's a serious gap in soil. Like, there's no solutions for most every plant that you have out there. I mean, there's veggie mixes. Besides veggie mixes, that's it. And not everybody's growing the same vegetables. And not every vegetable comes from the same biome. And so when you start teaming up the soils with the biomes, all of a sudden, you have a much more sustainable, repeatable solution. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, and so the key is matching the plants with the biome or the native soil, so they don't notice a difference of where they're at. And so that's what we do. So we have 8 different potting mixes, and 3 of those 8 mixes are pet safe. So we basically broke down 3 mixes just for terrariums, so that you can, it's edible, it's not going to tear them up. It has microbes already present that that break down like urine and byproducts of the animals, right? So you can do that for a little bit longer versus just using wood chips and other things that people use. And so this whole, it applies to everything, not just plants. So you can take anything that uses soil, uses this information. And I think it's something that is really important before you even get to microbes and amending and any adjustments, because nothing will stick if the composition isn't already there. And so you need to figure out what native biome a plant comes from. Once you figure that out, there's soil testing available. You can find it, like all countries publish it, and you can find it, and then you can figure out what you need. And that's probably the most sustainable way to go forward, because in my industry, I get a firsthand look at the supply chain, and we're running out of a tremendous amount of supplies and resources, and there's really no excuse for it. And so what we want to do is we want to start changing the conversation from how much of this should we put into to what should the structure be, and then how much should we put into it, because without the first, there's no reason to do the second. And so that's, we have 8 recipes, and because we cater to not in the ground, right? We're trying to replicate what's in the ground. We have 2 different fertilizers that you can use in conjunction with all the soils and without the soils to replenish those soils. So in a natural way, so nothing gets locked up in any capacity.
So you also pride yourself, Dennis, on the longevity of your soil. The soil that you're working with, Josh, right now, you're suggesting you can get like 2 to 3 runs, excuse me, out of it with just water only.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That's the key. Is your soil should be able to do that for what you're growing, and if you're not able to do that, you're using the incorrect soil. That's the basic takeaway. Is it's not that my soil is incredible, it's just the correct soil for cannabis. That's it. And so you can cut corners and you can tell people to make it at home, right? But at the end of the day, that's only accessible to people that have a home. Like if you're in a wheelchair or in an apartment, or living in somebody else's home, you might not necessarily have access to a yard or a driveway or any of these things to go build whatever you need to build. And so what I want to do is I want to get as many people growing as possible, and I want to make it as easy as possible. And I want you to be able to, in passing, say, hey, here's a bag of soil and here's some seeds. If you want to grow some weed, feel free, and that you don't have to give them any directions. The directions are on the bag. The bag has a barcode that takes you to the website with even more directions. So and then there's a fact section that every single step of growing's on that website too. So you really don't have to go anywhere else. And so the whole key here is to get as many people growing as possible and making it accessible to everybody. And when you get people going to the store, you can sell them a bag of soil, and then you can make them come back in 2-3 months and sell them another amendment or a nutrient or whatever it is. Or I can go ahead and I can take all that money on the front end, preload that soil, and make it as cheap as possible to grow. And that's really what it is it's literally no other way to make it cheaper, because mining resources, taking the resources to a facility to process, bottling or packaging those resources, shipping them and storing them, and then taking them to a brick and mortar to sell to you is not more efficient than just taking the mineral and putting it directly into the soil, locking it in because of the composition, and letting you use it until it turns into a plant. There's no other way to do it. And it blows my mind that this isn't the standard. So we have a water only soil. It'll pretty much go, if you do everything correctly, it should go until you run out. If you don't run out, then there's things that you should be able to tighten up in your environment that would make you deplete the nutrients at the same rate as the actual media, right? And so I'm glad you brought it up, because I brought this as an example because I've been waiting to talk about this, is how do you get 3 cycles out of your bag of soil? Well, it's not going to be if you add all the soil to a 10-gallon pot at once, because what's going to happen is it will, if you don't leach it out and you don't overwater and there's no runoff and stuff, but that's really hard to do. Another thing that's going to happen is all of that water is going to puddle at the bottom because there's no roots there for the first half of the grow. And so what you need to do is you need to start with a solo cup. You can put your seed directly in here, and this will be good for the first month. Once it's about a foot tall, and then you take it into a 1-gallon pot, right? And so you can just plop it in. It's good to go. This is good for a month. And then you go into your final home for 2-3 weeks and flower. And that's all you got to do. As long as you do that, and when you go to flower again, right, you can start it prematurely in the solo cup 2 months in advance, then switch to your 1-gallon. And then when you're harvesting your 10-gallon pot, you're 2 months ahead. You just got a 3-week wait, and then you can go to flower. And as long as you plant that plant right there, I encourage you to put it right there next to the other root ball, because everything's just going to migrate right on over, and it's going to be protected. And that's the best way to do it. No downtime. It's already wet. It's good to go. If you want to, after 2 to 3 runs, it sometimes gets compacted, and that can hurt you. So you can pull it out, break it up, and you can put 50-50 with some new soil, and you should be good for another 2 runs. And once you start seeing signs of depletion, it's going to start probably with some nitrogen and stuff. You don't have to do much. You just have to do some fish emulsion, some hydrolysis, right? And then that's about it, right? So you just do some teas here and there if you want to get some extra mileage out of it. And if you don't want to do that, you can just top dress with basically any tomato fertilizer or general purpose fertilizer that's natural. Or I would recommend our supercharge, because it's at the correct ratio for cannabis. I have a bag over here.
It's called Turbocharge. Flower and Bloom Booster. It's a 488. Yeah, that's the other one. That's the one I need.
Yeah, so this is the general purpose. And so you can use this. You don't have to use this. This was created so you can make your own super soil at home. So it's all the same nutrients at the same ratio as my soil. And so you can make it at home. And this should make you 2 cubic feet. But this is an incredible fertilizer for everything. And so you don't have to use it at the same rates as you do for cannabis. What you can do is you can take 1 tablespoon or a teaspoon, depending on the size of the plant, and you can just put it at the base at the beginning of the season and forget about it. That's it. And what it's going to do is it's going to make it a much larger plant with a lot more foliage, and it's going to have more sites for blooms, blossoms, and fruit. And so this is killer for tomatoes. It's killer for peppers. It's killer for cucumbers, anything that grows big fruits and stuff, it's going to benefit. And what it does is it does more than just fertilize. It also balances the soil out a little bit and creates more stability for those microbes so they don't lock out themselves. And so it's going to create a pH balance as well as a bunch of other things. And it creates a really a more positive, healthy environment. It's nothing special. All this is just it's just the I'm sorry, the meal or the granules of regular fertilizers. It's just combined in the correct ratio, so you're not wasting money at home buying 10 different things. And so and then the turbocharge that Josh held up is something you use very sparingly. You just use it at the beginning of your flower cycle in cannabis. And if you have like some fruit at home, you got a fruit tree, you got some tomatoes, you got stuff that actually has fruit, not blooms and blooms and blossoms will benefit, but like fruit, it's gonna be like a richer, more flavorful fruit.
Maybe while we're on this, we could pull up his website and then check other products. Is that possible?
Sure. Absolutely.
Since we're on a roll of his products right now, might as well.
I got them all sitting in front of me, except for a few.
Oh, there we go. We don't even need the website. We'll just get Josh to hold the shit up.
This is actually this is his island biome. Can you see the island? Can you talk a little bit about the island biome?
Yeah.
It's got the amphibian reptiles.
Yeah, frogs.
Frogs, yeah.
Things that are always, so you put that in a terrarium or environment. Excuse me. You would put that in an environment that would be wet all the time. So it would be a humidity of 90, 100%, and that would be safe. It's not going to mold up. It's not going to get funky on you. And it's also extremely lightweight and airy for the creatures that exist in those environments as well. And so it's a heavy peat mix. It's got a loose sphagnum that we get from Kentucky. So that's our living soil. That's our veggie blend. It's actually an incredible soil. So that would be comparable to a lot of the living soils on the market. The higher end living soils. So if you wanted to do like your own regimen at home, and you don't want to give fertilizers, because with super soil you don't use teas and you don't use fertilizers. So if you don't want to give that up and you want to keep getting whatever it is, like for whatever terps or expression that you're going for, and you just need a media that's solid, the living soil is solid. And so on our website, if you scroll down, hit the pictures. So on our website, everything has directions on how to use it. They have usage rates, and there's full descriptions on practically everything. We hand make everything. It gets layered and mixed and fermented and we use indigenous microorganisms from our local environments. And so we've been collecting those for some time, and they always get incorporated into every mix. And that's just to add a little bit of more robustness. And we like to use the local stuff because a lot of it gets sold here. So stop there. So we have island biome, desert biome, and forest biome. These are our three habitat soils. So these are bioactive terrarium and pet safe soils. So all of these will be edible, and they all sustain plants just as easily. They have pet safe ingredients, so it's just slightly different. And also they are a different, so there's, what we try to do is tap into 8 different soils on the spectrum of biomes. So from desert to bogs. And so the yeah, exactly. So killer soil would be the bog, and then you would have your island biome, and then from there your forest biome, your desert biome, and so on and so forth. And so if you want to click up on go down to the pest section, I really like this section. So this is an interactive pest section that you can click on the pest, and it'll tell you 3-layer solution on how to deal with it. So like, let's hit on broad mice. Broad mice has a good one too. Okay.
Sorry.
It has a description of aphids. It has hyperlinks to the products cheapest on the internet. It's got hyperlinks to the recipes for the actual solution. You have hyperlinks for bugs, the predator bugs. You got companion plant suggestions, and then you got a myco-insecticide suggestion for basically for about 36 different pests. And so if you ever have a problem with pests, this is all in one place with the links.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great information to have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's free. It's accessible to everybody, and I'm really proud of it.
No, you should be. That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Good spot for beginners if they ever have any issues.
So why would people want super premium soils other than growing cannabis? Well, that's a really good question, right? Because most of us are just going to grow a monstera, maybe a snake plant, and you can get away with pretty much anything for those things, right? But why? Well, because a lot of us like really cool houseplants, and a lot of those cool houseplants happen to be exotic. And so I like earwigs, but just in case you wanted to get rid of them,
I got plenty of them.
I would suggest you get rid of them. But sometimes they're a pest, you know? So
That's a pest right there.
but
Chickens,
this,
baby, chickens.
speaking of chickens, so this is the reason why, right? So maybe you want to own something like this, right? So this is a chicken fern, and
Oh, crazy.
in fact, what I should do is this.
Oh, hang on, let me bring you up on a big one.
That's what
Oh,
we
you
should
are
do.
on a big screen.
Yeah. So
That
this is a
so weird.
chicken fern.
What is that?
A chicken fern.
Oh, okay.
It literally has fur.
Feathers.
Yeah,
Fur.
look at that.
It's got a bush.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's wild.
it's furry.
Now, is it got a couple of eyes there?
No,
That
You sure
brings
it's not like a
them
gremlin
rubbing
or
to a
something?
whole new level. That's
Hmm.
crazy looking.
That's beautiful.
so this has been in this soil for about 3 years, and so something like this might be why you would look for a good soil, because you buy that and you spend $300, $500 on a big one, right?
Holy crap.
What are you going to do now? Are you going to go use a generic mix for $20? Or are you going to get a scientifically reverse engineered native soil for your exotic plant?
Yeah.
And so that's what we developed. It's called biome replication technology. And we saw a problem here, a gap in the market where people are not getting access to a medium that will work for their exotic plants. And when they come from the nursery, they're going to come in a pro mix that is barely going to create roots. The chance of you being able to keep it alive for multiple years is pretty low. But they don't care about that because you'll come back and buy another, or you'll just give up. And so So that's the problem. Is I want people. Let's get these type of plants gets the conversation started. When you show a kid this, it might change their whole trajectory. And so what we do is we need to get more of this in people's homes. So your kids and your friends' kids can see this type of stuff and see that it's relevant and important and appreciated. Because when they see that, then all of a sudden their values will change as well. And so that's just a conversation starter. But why would we want to do all this stuff? Well, biome replication technology. So biome replication technology is a process of things that we use to reverse engineer slurry tests, nutritional tests, leaching tests, all these and third party like educational institutes and stuff. Like we examine everything from every aspect that we can to develop a soil that's as close to the native soil, and maybe take a couple drawbacks out because it's in a pot. And so each recipe that we make, all 8 of them, is a hybrid of a certain spectrum of the scale of biomes, right? And so assume that they're pretty close. So a lot of these plants will fit, and maybe even with no adjustments. And so it's really not complicated once you start figuring out that about 8 recipes covers 98% of everything. And the other 2% are so exotic that nobody's really that interested, or they don't even take soil at all. And so it's not a complicated concept. All we do is we reverse engineer the native soil, and then we team it up with the biome. So with the plant's biome. So we figure out the plant's biome, and that gives us the correct soil to use. And so so by doing that, your irrigation and your fertilization are basically it's not an issue. It's a non-issue, because for something like this, a capensis, right, which is an awesome plant, they always get shipped in peat. This is a peat plant, and there's a lot of death, and this one's hard to keep alive because it's in a peat. And so this one dries out in a day. This one dries out in 10 maybe. And so you don't water this every day. You water those and you keep them in. When I worked at a nursery, they said standing water. Well, when I go out in nature, they're not necessarily always in standing water. They're in moist sand and dirt and ground, but they're not usually in water, sticking out of the water. And I always thought that was bizarre. And so here we go. And this thing's been wet. I don't know the last time I watered it. And so even when you get your, so you ever get a Venus flytrap from the grocery store and you wonder why it didn't survive more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're in the wrong soil. And so why doesn't the soil exist? Well, it doesn't exist because it's not cost effective to produce. The margin's not high enough for retail. So you have to have a completely different business model. And it's not shippable nowadays. You have to have your packages under about 20 pounds. And that's why you notice a lot of these recipes, they're not cooked and moist because they come as a dry mix. It's a mix and bag. And so when you do mix and bag, they're much lighter, but also you can't start seeds in them, and there's no guarantee the fertilization that was added is going to remain in there if you don't cook it and take care of it properly after you get it home. So, did you have something to say, Rick?
I got all kinds of questions here, Dennis. But I'm a little curious about. You've got these different recipes for different plants. Is there a formula, say, for example, if you're growing in different zones, like, is there any coordination between the two?
That's a great question. So yes and no. Most zones are going to have so you're not going to have an island zone necessarily in the middle of North America. Okay. You're going to have pockets of that, like in certain environments, like around Florida or islands around Florida, but I'm talking like continental U.S., Central America, the center. You can only find certain environments for those native species. So like for North America, there's only maybe 3 to 4 of the recipe of. You would only need about 3 to 4 of those recipes to apply to all the native plants. So, but you have pockets of like weirdness on all continents and all places. Like just like you have mountains with snow 2 hours of the beach in California, of course you're going to find a whole spectrum of things between there. So yes and no. So if it's just like something from your backyard, basically the forest biome or the forest floor is pretty much it. Like in Canada, if you're talking about stuff coming straight out of the ground, it's just basically forest floor. You might, if you get somewhere where there was a bog or next to the Great Lakes where it was like a flooded out, then you could bump it up to maybe the living soil, and that would be more equitable to that soil. And then you get places like New York, upstate New York. There's a huge bog that used to be there. The super soil is probably closest to those species, right? And so it really depends. And how do you figure it out? Well, you could go get a soil test done. They're about $30, but you don't have to do that. You can do a slurry test at home. You just take 50% water, 50% the thing. You shake it up. Eventually, it's all going to settle. Once it settles, you'll know the percentages of what's in there. And then you can just apply that to, you can use your intuition, or you can use the tool on the website. If you're searching for our soil, there's a tool on the website. You just type in the plant and it tells you what soil to use, to make it simple. Because I know not everybody has the time or the knowledge or the desire to get the knowledge just for one plant that they got gifted, or you know what I mean, that's important to them, or maybe they're not a plant person. So I try to make it very easy for you. And on the website, even easier, when you go to the soil selector tool, there's a PDF that has almost every species that exists. And it has the biome, it has the environment, like the location on Earth, right? So it tells you the environment it should have, it tells you the location it comes from. So that'll tell you how much light, right? And how much water. And then the biome tells you what soil. And then from those two things, you can team it up with the plant and you have basically fertilizer-free, worry-free soil. So lots of ways to get to it.
Cool. Dennis, in talking with you, getting ready for the show, I feel that you have a bigger mission. We talked about your fears and also your optimism about where we're heading and where we're going to maybe be in 20 years. And that, you know, if we don't look after what we're doing right now, we may not have any food on this planet. But there is an answer. There's a, you know, and I'd appreciate you expanding on your thoughts there, Dennis.
Thanks, Rick. I'll preface with there's a really easy solution. So we're gonna die in like 20 years if we do nothing. Even since I started my company, I think we're going on 7 years in September. And even since in the last 7 years, I've lost access to several ingredients that were really critical to some of my recipes. And I've had to adjust and pivot on certain things that, you know, because I can't access them. And why can't I access them? Because they literally don't exist anymore. And so we're running out of peat and we're running out of different things because we're depleting our earth so fast. And we're using, so even for instance, let's say rock dust. Rock dust has gone up $10 for a 50-pound bag in just a couple of years. So we're even running out of minerals. And so eventually we'll be completely out of certain things, and building soil won't even be an option anymore. And obviously the government's going to make digging up the soil illegal. And so how are we going to get our food then at that point? So that in itself is the biggest challenge I see, is the supply chain. Even if you're going in ground and you have the land to farm, you still need certain ingredients to replenish if you're going to mass produce things. And so those ingredients are all going to become very scarce very soon. And it doesn't have to be. What I see is a ton of inefficiency when it comes to soil. They're selling products and solutions that have a lot of these things in them, but don't actually lock in and stay, and they just go straight to the water table a month later and they're gone. And what happens then? Well, now they're locked away in a whole different realm of existence. And so what do? That's a whole different process, and I don't know how we mine those things back. They're in the water system now. And so how do we prevent that? Well, we got to start teaming up the nutrients with the right composed soil, the correctly composed soil. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to just pour money down the drain. And I'll give you a real life example. If you're growing cannabis and you use perlite, you have just 20% perlite in your mix, just 20%. You go and buy a $20 bottle of nutrients, and you're done using, you've depleted that $20 of nutrients. $4 watered out the drain. Just $4 because you use perlite. It's just $4. And that's not just $4, that's 20% of that resource just got vacuumed up or went down the drain. And all that needed to change was maybe changing the perlite to maybe humus, or maybe something that would clay, or get a composition that keeps the same aeration but gets the clay up, so you have a better cation exchange capacity. And so these little tiny tweaks can take something that literally takes the same amount of inputs and turn it into something that performs the way it's supposed to. And I equate it to driving with an emergency brake on. And most gardeners are literally just cruising, and they're burning up that emergency brake, and they have no clue because they're not looking in the rear view to question it. And nobody's telling them on the road next to them or to the left or the right of them saying, hey, you should try a different way. And so we're stuck. Everybody's going just as slow, and nobody realizes that they got a brake on in the first place until somebody comes along and produces way more with the same amount. And so when on our patent that we submitted, one of our pepper plants, the control produced 7 to 10 peppers in a 1-month period. The super soil pot produced 71 or 73 peppers in the same period. And if I was a farmer and I was going to my market or I was going to my restaurant to sell my food, that's 60 more peppers to sell. And if I'm getting $2.50 a pepper, that's a lot more money per plant. And what was the difference? It was a different composition. And so what does that mean for everyday people? Well, a regular farmer, instead of breaking even, can realize a 700% increase in their yield. And that comes back to their community in lower prices and a better product to take to market. And their money gets spent locally. So instead of all their money going other places and bills and banks and this and that, they can get out of their loans, they can pay off everything, and now they can give the money to their kids, buy a car there, buy a house, buy products at the local store versus having to go to Walmart because they're so pinched. Because when you give people excess money, they start making the decisions they want to make. People don't want to shop at Walmart. They have to shop there. And so we need to do something soon or nothing is going to be possible. And so I'm desperately telling everybody I can that this solution will give you what you need in hopes that they try it and see for themselves. And even that is hard enough. You wouldn't believe how many people I reach out to and they say, oh, well, I've seen this 1,000 times. And why would this be any different? It's like, that's true. But it is different. And I have been doing this. And literally everything you see behind me is from growing cannabis in my own soil. And so how do you grow something and become different than the next person? Because all that's happening commercially right now is a Athena hydro grow under a 700 watt or an HPS, and it's all going to have the same results. You use the same inputs. So how do you make a better product? Well, you got to change your inputs. And so the only way to do that is to make a better soil or to use a better soil. And so that's how you make more money. You don't make more money by being mediocre. You make money by being better. And it doesn't matter that there's all this competition. When you are better, you get the business. And so these are just videos of some of the cannabis that I've grown.
So who's been your mentors along your journey? Like, do you have certain people that have made an influence on what you do?
There's so many, and I'm gonna forget so many. So Michael Castro is the person that showed me the ropes outdoors. And he's a grower from Northern California. He had been growing since the 70s. He basically grew most of the cannabis for whatever chapter it was for the Hells Angels in Castro Valley, California. And so he took me under his wing and showed me everything outdoors that I knew up until that time. I had just grown in a closet. And so he gave me my first opportunity, and that's where I became greenhouse manager and operations manager. And I started ordering the supplies and the soil and getting acquainted with the actual process of growing. And so Michael Castro's number one. And then my second biggest influence, I was trying to remember today. I can't remember his name right now, but he is a scientist from Minnesota, and he does potato farming. And he's a consultant for potato farmers. Excuse me. And if I remember, I'll type it in the comments of the video. I'm sure I'll remember as soon as the video ends. But I'll type it up. What he taught me was that compaction is the number one killer of yield. So you got compacted soil, you're not going to have the roots to grow the plant. So you got to have the loosest soil possible. That's how you get the biggest plant possible. You want to make it as easy as possible for those roots to expand. And without roots, nothing else can happen. So that is the key. So that's been my secret weapon forever is I till. I use rye. I use crops that dig deep in the winter every single season. So when I come back and I'm stepping on that soil, it actually compresses under my foot stepping in. And that's what I'm looking for. And if you do that, that's how you get the 20-foot trees, the 17-foot trees, the, cannabis plants. And so the video that you were showing earlier, that's what we do is we literally till every 4 or 5 years. We break up the compaction, and obviously we reintroduce microbes and stuff, but it really doesn't hurt the soil that bad. And outdoors like that, it comes right back. And so don't ever be afraid to till a little bit. But so my third biggest influence is Jeff Lillisfeld. So his 3 books are incredible. Teaming with Microbes changed my whole life when it came to building soil before I even built soil. Just when I was applying microbes to change terps and everything else, and I was a basic moderate intermediate grower, and I didn't know that much. And so that's been a huge influence, and always been on the back of my mind is that microbes are the key, and how do we host them? And it basically, the soil has become an ant farm. It's basically an ant farm for microbes. And so the key is to get the correct microbes to sustain themselves for your plant. And so so microbes are the key to everything. And then we can't forget Matt Powers, right? We love Matt Powers.
Right.
So definitely one of the coolest guys around, and one of the easiest ways to get a full picture and synopsis of what actually takes place. And you could spend 2-3 hours in the book, or you could spend a whole month in the book. It's really up to you. But between those people, I try to stick to and Future Cannabis Project. In my earlier years, Future Cannabis Project hosted a lot of scientists, and I used to tune into a lot of those lectures. And I would say even when I was first getting into cannabis, what was the one? The guy's name. What's the one with they got the Scotty guy with the spiky hair and the Duke Grow Show.
Duke Grow Show.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that was it. I used to watch that like a decade ago. And they used to have a lot of cool pointers. So I do have to give them credit, because without them, maybe I wouldn't be here. So getting the guests they had on the show and just hearing little things, and it's digestible for beginners, right? So that's the cool thing about it. And so those are my main influences. Other than that, I listen to a lot of lectures. As long as it comes from like an agriculture institute of some sort, Virginia Tech's always publishing stuff. But I try to tune into as much as I can. And now that it's my job, like I really just, that's what I do most of the time is I research and try to hone in on what we need the most as a society. And so my goal is, it's not just to be soil. The soil, once we get this soil locked down, and we're working with distribution with Walmart. We have a whole bunch of stuff on Walmart.com. But once we get this locked down, it's going to expand into a company that puts pressure on other industries. So like now, we want to put pressure on the soil industry and get them to kind of change how they do things, or at least, and we already have started. It may not be evident to some viewers tonight, but there's certain changes being made by other companies when they hear about us, and it's really fascinating to see happen. And so I know we're having a really big impact, and if we just keep down this course, we're going to change how soil works and how people look at soil, and hopefully all of this work will just be a 30-minute conversation to kids in 7th or 8th grade when they take biology class. They can talk about this, and we never got to talk about it again. And that's the whole goal. Oh, goodness. Hold on.
Extreme close-up.
Checking to see if he flossed today.
So that's oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how would you suggest storing your soil, like your unused soil, so the microbes stay nice?
Microbes are very resilient, and so I don't worry too much about them. I do in the shade, just because drying out the soil, it's hydrophobic, right? So we don't want to dry it out too much. It comes to you prepared and alive. And you might even see worms. You know, you might see stuff in it. So you never know. But the thing is I recommend, and commercially, what we recommend is if you have a big grow, you get a big trash can, keep it in a trash can with the lid with the wheels on in your garage. If you got a smaller grow, you can keep it in like totes, keep a lid on it. Just keep it like that. The lid is fine. If you come back and there's mold or fungus or whatever on top, don't worry about it. Just mix it together and it's good to go. If you're concerned about anaerobic stuff, just drill some holes. But usually the totes are loose enough. Trash cans are usually loose enough. So I just recommend trash cans. And if you're a bigger facility, just scale up. And so commercially what happens is we use 5-gallon pots. And you have your first run, and they don't generally. Sometimes they do they do it a whole bunch of different ways, but sometimes they do plant directly in with a solo cup and they veg in position, and that can work. But a lot of times they'll clear the room to clean it. They'll dump it, break it apart, and it goes into a giant tote, like a rolling tote, and they'll take one part of that and one part new soil, combine that and send it out for the second run. And then they take that, and that's considered a third run soil, and that goes in a separate tote, and then use it for different applications. So that third run can now get used for clones. It's still perfectly fine for clones. It's perfectly fine for starts. You don't have to worry too much. It's very nutritious still. So so there's a whole flow chart of how to use it and keep it in the cycle till it basically disappears. And you can clone directly into it. So you get a tray, you cover it with super soil, and you can stick your cuts inside of it, right? All you got to do is water with a mister, right? You just keep it moist with the mister, and it's just like having a plug. The cool part is your roots will explode way faster, and it's going to have the same consistency all the way to the stem. And so what happens with those root plugs is they kind of hold different amount of water than your soil, and that can create mold and an anaerobic environment around the stem. A lack of oxygen getting there. And so sometimes I even peel them away over time, because I don't like the plugs on my plants. And so you can actually clone directly into the super soil. You can pop your seeds in the super soil. The key here is even for hydro farmers, even commercial hydro facilities, you can hunt. The hunting in the super soil is key, because that's how you see the correct expression. Otherwise, you're tangent to your diet and everything else. But you put so I dropped the video of a big grow room, and that's what that video was for. It's a big pheno hunt, like 200 different phenos, and you can literally do stuff like that when you're using a preloaded soil. And so there's a lot of different uses. There's no reason to need anything else. That's all you need. It's just that. And I really feel that. Why isn't every soil like that? That's the question. Like, instead of questioning, how does it do that? It's impossible. They must be smoking crack. Why do you expect less? Why? I don't know.
Yeah, good point. Good point. So Dennis has agreed to stay for the whole show. I'm very pleased about that. And normally at the beginning of the second hour, we hand the reins over to Josh. And so, Josh, I'd appreciate if you give us an update on your show, and then also Dennis is doing Josh and Dennis are doing a science project, and so we can share what you're doing over there too.
Very cool.
Yeah, just put me on the big screen and I'll walk around. I'll show you what you got.
All right, hang on one second. Let me do this. Where are you, man? There you go.
There I am. So, as we all know, this is the main bed. This bed's been here for a year and 7 months. These plants here are day, where are we at? 15, day 15 from transplant. So I started them in these little or in a tray, just like what Dennis was saying. I put super soil in the tray and just let them go. And as you can see, they're doing great. I mean, they're praying. You can see down the line there how much they're praying. They look beautiful. And then, so I wanted to experiment a little bit. So I put at the same time I was planting these in a tray with the super soil, I just stuck a seed over here. And look at the difference in that versus the transplant. So that's transplant, all these are transplant. And then this one is direct sow.
Oh, wow.
At the same time. So it's a huge difference in the direct sow seed. So, next time that's definitely an indicator that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to direct sow right into and just let them go. No transplant, no nothing. I mean, I can't explain. I don't know if you can see it, but the color in these leaves is amazing, and how they just pray. And I haven't even watered these in a minute, but I know there's water there because I have a water meter that I stuck down in there, and the plants will definitely let me know. But look at the sweet potato.
Yeah.
The sweet potatoes just run all through here. Then we've got spinach. This is direct sow spinach right into the soil. Then we've got cherry tomatoes coming up. We got cucumbers. I've got my squash over here. The tomato has fallen over. I took its support away just because it was just getting so big. So I'm letting it rest on the rock wall here and letting it rest on the rock wall over here. But we do have tomatoes. I see a lot of flower everywhere. And then I also saw the beginning of a tomato down there. So yeah, then we got our herb garden over here. Got some dill coming up. And we've got the basil. Look at the basil. This looks amazing. And then you got some sage coming up right there. And then we've got our plants.
I'm sorry, what was that? Sage, you said?
Sage, yeah. Sage.
Awesome.
Yeah, the new pond, we put some bullhead minnows in. Let's see if I can get them to run here.
Yeah, and you said you got one hanging with them.
Yeah, I've got Shiner Jr. Does hang out running with the pack now. He's running with, but look how clean the pond is. It was full of algae when I put them in. Now they devour every little bit of algae that I just pull out and throw in there. They devour it like little sharks.
Oh.
I mean, they just go to town on it. But yeah, this is the super soil. This baby here is one that was left over, feminized, and I had a little left over of the super soil. So, as you know, we have grassroots on board. These bags are built for microbes, so they're perfect for his super soil. So I just threw one down in there just for shits and giggles. Yeah, everything over here just looks amazing. You can see.
So yeah, you were just doing an experiment or something with that. So is the roots going to grow through that pot that you've got in the soil there?
In the grassroots.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so. Not right off. Not just one. I mean, maybe I'm not gonna. The only reason I have it sitting on the soil right here is to get it closer to the light.
Okay.
I really need a little table here, and I could pull it off of there and set it here because the squash and the cucumber are going to take over here shortly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we just got to move that, and but yeah, it keeps the soil wet underneath there. You can see the moisture line. Lets me know that there's moisture. There's plenty of moisture in the bed. I just checked it before we went live. Actually, we got flowers on our sweet potato. We're having to chop this, like literally chop and drop this constantly. But look at that's sweet potato juice.
Nice.
No.
Sweet potato juice. But no, these plants over here look just as good. These over here aren't. They seem not to be growing as fast as the ones over here in the super soil. But this is the 6th run over here, and we did just crash the system. But we are coming back strong because I know my Empress trees are looking really good. You can see them coming back really nicely. Whereas before they were getting all rotten. They were looking like little fungus disease all over them. But they're coming back nice and strong. Plants look good. Creek and grass is looking great.
What are those taller things right there?
This is a lucky bamboo.
Oh, okay.
This is what you see in pet shops and stuff. They just have them sitting down in their aquariums. It's an aquatic plant. Yeah, it has nothing to do with bamboo whatsoever. It's not even related to bamboo. It just grows like bamboo, and it looks kind of like bamboo.
Yeah.
This one over here, this closest to the waterfall, is the one that's gone crazy. It's almost to the light.
Wow. Yeah, they're tall.
It looks like a freaking corn stalk.
That's what I was thinking. It looks like corn.
Yeah, it started down here. It started right down here. That's it. That's what it started like. And then it shot this one off, and then that one just blew up.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then the dog fennel. The dog fennel is doing extremely well. I've been chopping. You can see where I've just been running through it, just pulling. I have to do this almost at least every couple of days, or else it just takes over. So this is how I kind of know that the system is starting to recoup. It's really starting to dial itself back in from the crash. Now the grasses are all really, like, I'm not seeing hardly any dead grass anymore. Like, all this is just, the soil has just been turned into like worm castings all around. This is creeping Jenny. And I just stuck a little bit over there. Then I put a little bit of moss down there on top. And the moss is growing well. The creeping Jenny is starting to spread. So that's a good sign, because that lets me know that there's the moisture content over here is doing pretty well. If it wasn't, I did have to, I've been using this, my aerator. I've been using this. And like Dennis was saying, talking about tillage. And I was like, yeah, I like to call it intelligent tillage, because, I see spots that need it. And when you need it, you need it. So you should go in there and do it.
Yeah.
But what happens is that the worms and everything just get to the point where they shut off. It almost turns into mud. You know what I mean? And if it's too much water, is what I'm saying. And the only way I'm getting too much water is if I have too much of this connected to the creek. So what I do is I just find the top of the wall. So here's the top of the wall, the rock wall. and then I can come off just to the edge and go straight down with this rod, all right, and then pull it off. And that's creating an air channel, a hole, so to speak. And I just come over here, go down, pull it off, go down, pull it off. And this, look at the dairy cows coming out of that hole.
You pissed
yeah,
them off.
Yeah, that's what I did. But that's what I'm having. These are the little things, the stewardship that I have to do, because the critters, you know, they're just like animals, man. They'll tear shit up, you know. They come in, everything I had nice and neat, you know, and they just come in and eat it and shit all over the place, and then, you know, build their own homes, and I have to go in and kind of clean up the mess and rearrange things so things don't get too much water. You know, it's a fine line, but the plants are really, I've learned how to read these plants to where if the water is dialed in and the environment in here is dialed in, the temperature, everything is dialed in, everything just looks crisp. It's like a crisp green, like a lime, almost. Some things are lime green just because of the new growth. You know, all that is lime green. This is old growth here. And then the lime green growth is just all that new growth. And I see it on everything, like the ivy, you know, the lime green growth on the ivy. So everything's, I'm seeing it everywhere now. The grasses are starting to come back. Super green grass. So that's how I know things are, you know, coming along. I'm aerating over here simply by, look at all the grass roots. So that's the top of the creek wall right there. So just on the other side of that is the creek, and this is what they've done to all that sand and silt.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And this is how you can disconnect, you know, the water flow here. So if I wanted to wick more water over here, I would just sprinkle some sand and silt over, and it would just wick water like crazy.
Huh. Cool. And right now, I believe you have your lights on 16 hours, and so you're going to be experimenting with that to see, trying to accommodate your vegetables as well.
Yeah,
you be going up to 18 hours and then down again, or
no? I don't need 18 hours of light in here. I've noticed, you know, it's a power bill. You know, if I don't need the extra 2 hours, why am I even going to do it? And really, it's going to speed the growth up, I guess, a little bit, but it really blows up like if I go that extra 2 hours, I mean, like this would probably already be in the light.
Yeah.
You know, things are just growing so viciously and fast in here. I'm noticing, like, if I leave, well, I'm in here every day, but if I don't do something, like when I come in here, like yesterday, I really didn't like prune anything. And I mean, it just goes everywhere. It's like if I go and don't prune for like 2 or 3 days, all of this will be like just out here dangling all off everywhere. Like this is the only death I've seen because I literally pruned all of this off of here. It had grown all up here and it was dangling all off the back. So I just came through and just cut. But look at it. I mean, it's already, you know, it doesn't take no time to come back. And it's fast, like real fast. I mean, so I don't need 18 hours. I don't think I'm going to go 18 hours. I'm just going to go to 16. And then when I do flip the flower, I'll just take it down to 12 and stay at 12. And then when I go back, I'll just take it back to 16. Just run the 16.
Mm-hmm.
It really did lower my power bill. I noticed that.
I know you've got a lot of really cool meters. Do you have a meter for DLI?
Yeah, on my phone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm running about 500 right here. So I'm about on PPFD meter. I'm 500 to 525 ish. Over here, I'm about the same, 500. 525 on the PPFD meter. My VPD, I'm at 80. I'm 84 degrees, and I am at 69 and at almost 70% humidity. My VPD is about 1.3, 1.34, somewhere around in there. So everything is humming along nicely. Like I said, the plants, they tell me, you know, when they're doing that right there, I know they're happy, especially when all of them are doing that, you know.
Sure.
Soil and environment, you know. If I didn't have the environment dialed in, like they do kind of droop a little bit. I noticed that. That was one thing I changed here recently, 2 days ago. I bumped the temperature up in here a little bit because I noticed at night my temperature was getting down lower than what I wanted. I was down to like 73, 74 one night, and I was like, dang, I don't want to be that low. And I just bumped it up to, on the mini split over there, I bumped it up to 85, and that keeps me right at 82 to 83 all the way through the night. Which here lately around here has been kind of crazy because it's been kind of hot and muggy as shit in the morning. So the humidity in the morning is at 100%. It's wet as hell outside. And humidity in here is about, this morning it was at 78, which isn't a catastrophe.
Josh, you're growing some of Dennis's gear this time, and Dennis is our seed sponsor for the show tonight. Dennis, I wondered if you could tell us Blue Jasmine. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that strain.
So Blue Jasmine is a combination of Blue Falcon and Blue Falcon. So Blue Falcon is a Chem Skittles Northern Light combo that I made about a decade ago. And so I took seeds from Blue Falcon and I crossed them with seeds from Blue Falcon. And this is an F2 of Blue Falcon. So I call it Blue Jasmine, and it's pretty cool. It's good for outdoor. It's got some chem in it, so it's got like really good resin and good bud density. So I really like it, and until November, you can find it on my website, which is gatsorganic.com. Although I'm working on a license for seeds, so I shouldn't have a lapse. I should continue to make seeds.
Oh, that's great.
Oh wow, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, these things are beautiful.
Seeds are just a hobby for me that I could obviously make more money with it, but I just sell them on my website. I don't really promote them too much. I do one run and that's it. So once the seeds are gone, they're gone. You have something super unique. And I can make more, so it's not a huge deal.
Right on.
I got these out for sexting right now, so they're getting identified here as we speak, probably.
Cool.
And my seeds aren't just pollen chucks; they're thoughtfully made. I try to pick traits that like would be beneficial for our area in the Mid-Atlantic. So like, if it says it's good for outdoors, it's going to be good for the heavy amount of humidity that we have here and the amount of rain we have. It should be done in our season. So it's not just a pollen chuck with a good name. They're thoughtful seeds that will actually produce for the people that use them.
So we're witnessing the cycle of life. Here we go.
I'll tell you, if you want to get rid of algae, if you got an algae problem, get you some bullhead minnows. Go to the bait and tackle shop, get you some bullhead minnows, and I'm gonna tell you, they love the algae. It's like crack.
Wow.
So, there was something else I wanted to touch on. We were talking earlier about there is optimism for the future of growing food and what have you, but also you mentioned too that one of the keys or secrets to our success can be with youth, and I know that Josh's partner Mo over there, he feels strongly about the youth being a key to our success. I know he does I think every weekend he does composting with kids and to get them inspired and so on. And I know you had mentioned some things about working with youth, and I wondered if you could expand on that, Dennis.
The one thing I see happening to my community, the cannabis community, and even in the plant world also, but the plant world isn't as bad. There's a lot of youth in the exotic plants and houseplant world, but there's not a lot growing veggies and there's not a lot growing their own cannabis. What's happening is the reason hydro stores are going out of business is because they're running out of customers. It's online sales is a big factor, but another huge factor is the fact that somebody under 25 isn't coming. Somebody maybe even under 30 might not be coming. It's just the homeowners and the people that have space and are thinking about it. And if you talk to a high schooler, even though it's illegal, but if you talk to a high schooler, they don't know what the flower looks like. They don't have any pop culture influences like Cheech and Chong. They don't have a rapper like Cypress Hill or Cottonmouth Kings or any type of somebody that can relate with them and introduce them to the culture and the community, the peer-to-peer aspect of it. And so we're getting further and further removed from the future generation. And that's a lot of the reason that our rights and stuff are in such jeopardy and they're getting backtracked and they're getting away with backtracking their rights because this next generation is conditioned to their cards and what they do. And they're not going to the grow store to grow their own cannabis because they don't even know how to smoke the flower. So that's where we're headed. We're headed in a direction where kids aren't even interested in growing. And that's causing the stores that they would have gone to go out of business, and the brands that get the business of the stores, they're going out of business. And then we're only left with BlackRock and Vanguard companies. And so the whole culture is literally going away. And how do we get kids interested? Because making compost is super cool. But how do you apply that to your wallet? How do you apply? Because eventually they're going to get a job and they're going to have to go to work and they're going to be tired and then they're going to have a kid and then they're going to be extra tired and they're going to have even less time. So how do you get them before that happens? How do you make them feel like I don't have to go to college? Maybe I could grow tomatoes instead and make some real good money. You know, not saying that college is bad, but it's not necessary. I mean, like, I think most business owners in the 80s were not college educated and we functioned fine. And I think we were in less debt than we are today. So yep. I don't think college is actually tangent on success. And so how do we get these kids to correlate that act or the act of making compost or gardening into their wallet and improvement on their standards of living? Because if that doesn't happen, if the correlation doesn't happen at the same time, they're going to move on. And they're going to go to the grocery store and be like, I'm perfectly fine buying these GMO tomatoes grown with pesticides. I'll give them to my kids. Who cares that we'll all have cancer and we'll have parasites and we'll have all these issues? I do not care. It's cheaper. We'll make it. We'll deal with that problem later. So how do we stop it from even happening? And so it really comes right back to the soil. You got to make it painless. You got to make it so easy that anybody with any mental capacity at any age can make it happen. Because some people aren't blessed with a perfect brain, and so these people are the majority of people. And so how do we get them involved? How do we get them growing their own food and taking care of themselves? And so going forward, I think cannabis is the key. It's the gateway plant. I've noticed so many people go from cannabis to growing vegetables. And so that's why I'm so invested with cannabis, because that's how we get the youth. We got to get them growing again. And it's not going to be with a bottle of Athena and a $1,000 irrigation system with pots that feed themselves. It's not going to be with a $1,000 light and a fucking tent. It's going to be with a bag of soil, a tent, a bag of soil, a pot. You don't even need a pot. Cut the top off the bag. A bag of soil and the seed, put it out. That's all you need.
That's what I said the other day.
Honestly, even as a longtime grower, there's been times where I couldn't afford the soil, and so I just didn't grow. So your soil would be amazing to be able to use it repeatedly.
Mm-hmm. And then that comes out to about 2 pounds a bag. You're going to get about 2 pounds out of your $55 investment. 55 shipped. That's cheaper than everybody.
Yeah.
And so, and you're going to get 2 pounds, maybe more, out of it. And so it's really do you want to spend the money on the back end or on the front end? Because you're going to have those nutrients, those ions don't just appear. And the most efficient, cheapest way to get these ions is already preloaded in the soil. And so can we do 2 draws of this seed since we missed the first one?
Did we miss one?
Well, I won the first one, so I don't want to take it.
No. You won. You won so we do a duck race every month, the first of the month. So you want a spot in that race for next month's race, man. So no.
Yeah.
This is something totally separate, brother.
Real ducks.
And that's for a 32-ounce bottle of Lost Coast plant therapy.
Oh, well, we love Lost Coast. It's great stuff.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Rick puts that shit on everything.
Rick drinks that shit.
He sure does. So if anybody doesn't know, that name you see on the screen, type that in chat. That'll get you entered into the we're going to draw 10 names tonight. If you're one of them lucky 10, you'll get put into the race.
Okay.
And later on in the show.
While we're drawing that, let me talk about Snap Snacks. So we make our own. So we're partnered with Mountain Gate Organics, and the worm castings in our soil are exclusively Mountain Gate Organic worm castings. And so we also make black soldier fly larvae, and we harvest their castings, we grind up their bodies, we process them in every capacity. And so all of our larvae is organic, it's grain fed, the grain is from Virginia, it's completely organic fiber, and it's one of the ingredients, one of the many ingredients, along with crickets, and here's the larvae. All this stuff goes into the Snap Snacks, and what the Snap Snack is it's food for carnivorous plants, because sometimes you like inside and you don't have flies everywhere. So I know I do. I like to keep them in terrariums and stuff, and there's not, I got to capture flies to feed to them. So it's a lot easier just to take a couple little sprinkles of this stuff every 2 weeks and feed your carnivorous plant. You put them in the pitchers. You put them on the little sticky things. You put them inside the traps, and it's a full nutrient. It basically is. There's yeast in it. There's all this stuff to replicate breaking down a natural bug, but it's ground up and shelf stable. So it's pretty cool. Also, whoever wins getting a T-shirt.
Oh shit!
Wow. Oh, beautiful.
And
Very nice, very nice. What seeds are they going to win tonight? And while it's on my mind, do you ship to? Oh, that's the ones we were talking about earlier, the blue jasmine.
yeah, seed shipped to Canada. Seed shipped to Canada if it's legal. Fertilizer and soil. I think the fertilizer is fine. I don't think there's a requirement for natural, but I got to double check. But I'm pretty sure we don't generally ship to Canada, but I would love to.
Yeah.
Yes, we would love you too.
So if the winner is Canadian, then we'll send you some seeds from our stash.
Oh, I can ship the seeds. I can ship seeds.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great.
Awesome.
All right. How many I got? Yeah, 35 in. Let's take 10. Good luck, everybody. Oh, 36. Good luck, everybody.
That's a lot of entry.
Good luck, guys.
Keep yours. You can still, I think, add another entry.
Congrats, Neil.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to take 10 tonight.
Okay.
We'll get 10 lucky people a shot and a pack of seeds and a t-shirt.
You're here.
Oh,
Oh, congrats.
thanks. Congrats.
Georgia on my mind.
Oh, good to see you, Georgia.
You want to do two? How many winners are there going to be?
We can take first and second place.
Yeah, or we could
How's
do
that?
3.
First, second, third. Sounds good to me, man.
Awesome.
Very generous, my friend.
Yeah, appreciate that. It's funny. The more I draw, the longer the names get.
Yeah, there are some longer names today.
I see Alley Cat in the house. I was hoping they got their seeds on Friday. I owe a couple more people.
Give us a thumbs up if you did.
Your seeds are on their way. Trust us. So, Scott.
So here's a question, Dennis. Do you think growing food at home will become more necessary, more common, or both?
I think growing food at home was always necessary and it was always common until recently.
Yeah,
until an industry figured out how to sell it to you. So we didn't really have grocery stores. We had markets. So that's kind of a new concept. Grocery stores are what you do when you have huge commercial agriculture. We should have regional crops with regional recipes and regional plates, at restaurants. We shouldn't have like these huge chains that need like 1,000 billion chickens a week and stuff like that. Like we need to stick to what's in our areas. But no, long story short, we absolutely need to be growing our food again. Why aren't we? Because it's illegal in some places. They start getting us with the runoff. So now all of a sudden you have to get a permit for your runoff. It gets tested. At any given time, you could potentially fail. That would cause you to incur a fine. A lot of people don't even want to try because they don't even want to head down that road. And so how do we make growing vegetables and fruits legal again? That's a bigger question, because I think that's what's really holding us up. Is like if I want chickens for eggs.
Whoa, what's that?
And
are we okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna
but
Josh.
And for now, I can grow vegetables, right? But like they can do the same thing where, well, you can't. Just like with water, they can say you can't use the nutrients in the soil because that belongs to the county. They can do any which way to shift it up to basically regulate it out of existence. And so as long as we allow people that are benefiting from this to be also in control of our policies, then we're not really going to get people growing at home again. So it starts with some tomatoes, because that's how we put the match or the lighter to their toes, with people starting with tomatoes, weed plants, right? And that puts the pressure on them. And that's how we get our farms and our stuff back in our community. But as you can see, our real estate is so inflated because we're all forcing ourselves into a city, because not living in a city is becoming less sustainable. Because for a real life example, in Virginia, you can't hunt. You can't, like, you can hunt, but there's limitations on the hunting. And now they're giving permits to overcull the population in Virginia. So next year there's even less meat on the table. And so that's what the government does. They want to build data centers and shit. They can't build it when there's wildlife on it. So they increase the permit count. So they're like, okay, now you can get twice as many. That takes away the babies for next year. And so all of a sudden that food supply is gone. They're going to the grocery store. They don't have jobs anymore to afford the grocery store, because half of their diet came from the land. In Virginia, that's how we survive. A lot of us are buying what we need, but we're growing what we need as well. And so we grow and we hunt. And that's a big, if you live outside the city in Virginia, that's how you feed yourself. So a lot of people that make policies are not familiar with that. And it all gets put to the wayside and overlooked. And slowly but surely, our growing rights are going away, to the point where you need a permit to go to a farmer's market. You need testing. You need this. You need that. When mom and pops should never have to go through all these hoops. These are not things that you have to, like, this is a very localized thing. We don't have to have a commercial nationalized program regulating it. It can be handled locally. The tomatoes aren't going out of state. They're staying right here at the restaurant. If there's a problem at the restaurant, we have a courthouse. We have all this already in place. There's no need for any of it. And so yeah, I think weed is the short answer. Is how do we get people growing their own vegetables? We get them growing weed because they care about weed, and then they learn that it's easy and they're getting scammed. They figure out the scam, and that wakes them up to everything else. Yeah. So that's what we make weed soil.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Growing weed is it's therapeutic, but it's also addictive, and so that's I was growing weed. Well, actually, when I was growing up, I get home from school, and my mother had a half-acre garden. And so we get home from school, of course, get it changed out of your school clothes into your other clothes. I was supposed to be in my play clothes, but I went out and I start weeding. Well, I couldn't see the other end of the row. I mean, and so that's where I would head for the end of the row. And that kind of maybe left a bad taste in my mouth about growing, until I discovered cannabis. And then all of a sudden I was enjoying growing again.
And when I was growing up, everybody had gardens. Like, we would go into the neighbors' gardens and like steal stuff.
We didn't call it stealing. We borrowed tomatoes.
We didn't steal it, but they knew we were taking it. They didn't care.
And that community is what makes an area beautiful. It's the people. I was thinking back of what makes an area what it is. And it's really the people in the community. And the only way you can get away with these policies that are detrimental to all of us is if you remove that factor. And growing and sharing food is a big part of that. That's why cannabis is so heavily regulated. It's because they figured out that we can organize ourselves. And so they want to compartmentalize every part of it, so we can't have that much influence. And and that's the beautiful part, Rick, is that you can grow any way you want to grow. You don't have to grow vegetables. You can grow wheat. You don't have to grow anything useful. You can grow stuff like this because it's cool. And it's just, we all get through life, and we all have to figure out a way that we enjoy it. And plants are one of the best ways to enjoy life, because we coexist. That without them, we don't exist. And so learning them and learning how they work and figuring out that their root biome is essentially your stomach gut. And that if you just internalize everything, even the inputs of the nutrients apply to you. You got to have magnesium before you can have iron and all these other things. So you got to have these things present already, and that can even make you a more efficient eater. Make you more efficient in a lot of different ways, and that's the beauty, is you can see it as deep as you want, or you can just see the colors on the leaves. Either way, everybody's got to grow.
Yeah. What you said about at first I laughed when you said it, but you said one of the best ways of getting people to grow is by making it legal. And you're so right. In so many cases, there's so many regulations and hoops to jump through. I wanted to say though that a bit of what we were talking about before, Miranda. It's so nice to see the community gardens. When you're driving through in a town, or to see people getting together and turning that little bit of land into a community garden. But I know I was at the farmer's market last week, and I picked up a loaf of sourdough bread. But on the written on the table, she had made a note, and it said this bread or these goods were not baked in a licensed kitchen. And I guess she had to do that to cover her ass. But it's sad that she even has to do that. Like, somebody must have come along and give her a warning, said, look, you could blah, 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 give her shit for trying to do something for the community. And that's what happens.
Yeah, possibly, or one of her friends. Yeah, and it's those things that shouldn't even exist. The regulations are just to stifle and limit a society. Consumers can decide what's correct for them. There's no reason to regulate any of this and give an unfair advantage to people that are either permitted or even, I'll tell you this. Soil is one of the hardest things to get into a commercial facility because of the regulations. They have pathogen testing, they have heavy metals testing, and they also have potency testings. And so to be able to convince a facility to take a chance on a soil that could potentially fail their heavy metals and pathogens is really difficult. It's nearly impossible. And so we can guarantee that our heavy metals and pathogens will pass the regulations. But unless they hear about us, they're not going to try soil. If you ask around, they're not using Lush or Gaia Green or anybody else in commercial facilities. Why? Heavy metals. And you shouldn't either because of heavy metals. But, I'm not a lawyer or whatever, so don't sue me. But the test needed heavy metals. And so you can't use it and you can't apply it anywhere. And so when those people go to the facility, they go hydroponically with chemicals, and that's all they know. And then they take that home with them and spread that around. And so more and more facilities are under the same mindset of, we don't even want to try because we've regulated it. There's no reason to have the pathogen regulation. The reason there's good pathogen regulation is strictly for soil. It talks about all pathogens, anaerobic and aerobic. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. If it's present, it's not acceptable, and you will fail testing, and you have to take it away. You have to take it off the market, and it's unnecessary. And the same with the heavy metals. A lot of the heavy metals, like, it might fail the soil test, but when you actually grow it, the heavy metals stick in the leaves, not in the buds. And so a lot of it is aimed directly at soil to keep soil out of the process because they want them dependent on the bottles. And every time you got to replace the cocoa because you fucking filled it up with salts, it's locked out. You got to have a new brick. And guess what? Where does that cocoa go? The trash. And so you could just build a bed, and for 7 years, if you build a 4x8 bed of super soil, it should last you about 7 years. And so you could just do that, and it'll probably outlast your whole contract, your whole operation. So, you know, so it's getting regulated out. Soils, and it's really hard to convince facilities to switch over or switch back at least. So,
but there are a number of commercial facilities that do use organic soils. Do you know? So, are you suggesting that number is getting smaller, staying the same, or maybe growing?
The ones that have been established growing in living soil are doing okay, but it's getting smaller every day because there's a short pump on grow facilities. It's about a 3-year life cycle. They pump the money in and they sell it before everybody realizes that it doesn't make money, and it's usually the second or third owner that has to foot the bill. And so most facilities aren't around long enough for that. And so every 3 years, there's new facilities and new people, unless you're a multi-state organization. And all the MSOs use synthetics because they're owned by the same people that own the synthetic companies, right? So if they're all owned by the same people, then why would they use anything else? But when we scale down to local facilities, like facilities in DC or facilities in Virginia and other places, right? They cycle through also every couple of years. And so most people aren't even older than 5 years or 6 years, right? That would be a rarity. And most of those people have converted to synthetics because of testing's easier and simpler. Or they plain get them for free sometimes. Like, I know Mills goes around and they'll give you a year's supply of nutrients, and Athena, same thing. So most of these guys, they don't even have to pay for nutrients for the first year because it's all free. Wow. And so who's going to compete with free? Well, it's free because they'll sell you everything else that you need. Like, that's the thing. You're still going to need your $100,000 irrigation system with your reverse osmosis and your water and you got to have your A and B tanks, and you got to clean those out. So that's going to be 2 new employees you're going to need just for that. And so the benefit to switching to super soil is you really need like a manager, 2 hands for a facility, and that's about it. And other than that, defoliation and trimming is the only time you're going to need extracurricular help. And so, and that's the benefit, is not only do you save money on the actual nutrients, you save money on labor, you save money on time, and you don't have to buy multiple different products. You don't have to buy clone plugs anymore. You don't have to order from a distributor anymore. You don't have to have minimum orders. You just have to get soil and keep using it. And it works perfect. Like we crush it. We crush it commercially. So there's really no facilities that can compete with ours. And then on top of it, you have your shelf life with synthetics about 6 months before it starts breaking down and you lose terps. And with organic, commercially, you can push it 6, 7, 8, 9 months, even up to a year if it's stored correctly. And then if you want to age it, it gets even better. Something you cannot do with synthetics. So if you want to age it 5, 6, 7 years, which I've done, and it's incredible, you cannot do it with synthetic because it will literally eat itself alive. And why does the FDA approve that? If it's eating itself alive within the first year, what is that doing to your brain when you smoke it? Just because they can't find it in a test or the test isn't in place yet doesn't mean it's healthy. And the only reason it's allowed is because that's their game. Otherwise, they can't market the soil. They won't make money on shipping it. It's more of a local, regional thing, unless you have a novel idea like we do. And our niche is kind of small, so we don't really step on their toes at all. But when it comes to commercial cannabis, like, we are stepping on everybody's toes, and it's pretty cool. And to be able to because until now there hasn't been a soil brand or company or recipe that can keep up and pass all of their obstacles that they've laid out. And it's kind of their brain is like, so things that have happened to me just this year, people have been paid to walk off site without watering on a Friday. That happened. People have been paid to turn the lights down so the soil wouldn't cycle nutrients, and it would lock out. So they turned it down just enough to slow it down and to make it look bad. So maybe synthetics could come back to the facility. And I won't say what brand, it was, but it was one of the top 5 brands that paid these people to do it. And so they're very threatened by what they're seeing. And right now, every single gram of organic cannabis in DC is grown in super soil. And so that in itself, one of the 51 territories or whatever, all of the organic cannabis is APSU. And it's just me and a couple people. It just starts like that. Before you know it, it'll be all Maryland and all of Virginia and all of Tennessee, and it will move and spread as word spreads. But these guys, that's who talks to each other, is these owners. They've been doing it 10 years. They tell each other, and that's how we're going to spread. Is we don't necessarily need their marketing or their social networks or anything like that. All we got to do is get into the farms, and the farms will trickle out into those communities. And so we're kind of skipping the whole store. Like, I would love to sell soil to stores. That's great. If you want to make money with us and you have a store, let's do it. But reps in most states now, and 30% of our business is actually in California, 32%. And we have, I think 17 or 18% is actually our home state. So a lot of our business is not in our home state. And so we have reps all over the country. Oh, cool. All right.
Here, I can get rid of the music. Continue talking.
Yeah. So,
what is it? Farm animals?
Yeah, we're talking about farming, so I figured fuck it.
I love it.
Some farm animals out there.
Absolutely.
oh, chicken. Let's go chicken.
Damn, I had a question.
Sorry, I got Josh muted.
I don't
Josh
know.
I'm getting big feedback from him. So.
Okay, so
was it me?
It was when you were on your camera, but now you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck to the winner.
Run,
The
little
winner,
piggy, run!
For wins, get with Rick. Give us your shirt size and your address. The winner of this race, and congratulations.
Yeah. So I'm glad you were able to stay for the full show, Dennis. But damn it, look at it's almost the top of the hour again.
Pig.
This,
Come on, pig.
the winner of this show. I want one more question for you.
He's too
Come
far
on,
ahead.
who's gonna do
Here comes
it?
the dog. The dog coming up. Grover.
The dog.
J-Dog.
Who is that?
Congratulations, R1 J-Dog. Yeah, congratulations. So
Good boy.
In the show notes, you'll find the show's email. That's let's be buds with a Z show live at gmail.com. Just send me that information and I'll get that through to Dennis. Make sure you give us your shirt size as well. Before we go though, Dennis, this is switching gears quite a bit, but during your time with the Marines, you said you spent time in Afghanistan. Could you share a little bit about, and you saw how they were growing and processing hash. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that experience.
So Afghanistan was my second deployment. My first deployment was to Iraq, which was a totally different country, like literally different people, different culture, different everything. And so Iraq is really like city-based and really fast-paced. People everywhere. And Afghanistan is literally like the Wild West. If you could imagine, like if you were to replace like cowboys with Afghan people, it's basically the same thing. and they don't have like the shanty towns with the necessarily with wood because they don't have trees. They have mud huts, but it's essentially the same thing. And so it's super cool and independent, and in fact, it's territorial. So they have tribes that control all these different southern regions of Afghanistan, and the government's not involved at all. It's just tribal leaders. So they don't get taxed, they don't get assistance, they don't get anything. They just live and exist, and they grow weed. And so on our patrols and stuff, we would come across compounds filled with weed. And of course, being in our late teens and early 20s, we were fascinated with weed. Oh my God, we just came across some weed, and these guys were hash farmers. And so what I witnessed as a kid, I'll say I was a kid, is I saw people growing everything they needed to give them the resources to feed their entire family and their community. They had international buyers coming in and shopping with them. And I was able to see a whole different system of existence that's not necessarily happening here in the United States, or at least not that visible. And that's really what inspired me to want to have all this farming and independence is I want people to experience what I saw there, and I want it everywhere. And I want people to realize that you don't need anybody or anything. They were living in a desert. I mean, when I say desert, there was a tree maybe every 100 miles, if you were lucky. And they were able to grow cannabis from river water in dirt that was literally the color of tan. And I shared pictures with you guys, but probably too late to find it. But existing with these farmers is really what influenced and changed my trajectory away from wanting to be a war fighter. When I got back from Afghanistan, I got out and went straight to farming. I went straight to growing weed. I was growing weed within a year. And so it was huge impact on me, being able to see them process the hash. They would give us free weed. And it wasn't very good, but like when you're deployed and there's nothing available, it's pretty strong. And so we would get free weed on our patrols and stuff, and that's who took care of us. And so that's the cool thing about traveling the world, is you get to see all different types of ways of existence, and you can take what you like and leave what you don't. And I really liked how they handled business. You know, they were very community driven. Everything slowed down, and there was no pressure to do this rat race that we do every day. And it's something that I'll carry for the rest of my life. And one day I hope to go back to Afghanistan. But until then, I do have seeds, and they're in my seeds. So I did put some of the seeds that we got from those hash farms, and they're in my genetics at some point. So
cool.
They're in the blue jasmine seeds. So
right on. Dennis, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, my friend. I hope you'll consider joining us again. The time went by so quickly, and I still got a couple of questions left, but hopefully we'll save it for another day.
We're going to have to talk about strictly cannabis next time. We'll talk about all things cannabis and growing, and we'll just stick to that. And I would love to be back anytime. Just invite me. And thank you, everybody.
Dennis, we do an outro after the show here. Please stick around. And Josh, Miranda, Dave, thanks so much. And chat, so great to see each and every one of you. We love you and look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, I'm going to send everybody out this week with we didn't talk about it, but the Cannabis Bud Exchange.
Oh, yeah.
Canadian Bud Exchange. So this is a little sneak peek into that. So we'll catch everybody next week.
See you next week, guys.
Bye, guys.
Hey there, friends of the great wide north, let me tell you why. We're bringing joy, laughter, and a little bit of high. Swap yours for mine or his for hers, let it slide. This is the moment, let's enjoy the ride. Feel the buzz in the air, can you feel the fun? Nothing beats the